Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing from the DC Universe Classic 2-pack Lex Luthor and Supergirl. Take a look at this bad boy and bad girl right here. Now, a little information about Lex Luthor and Supergirl. We might as well start off with Supergirl because, well, she's Supergirl. Supergirl's real name is Kara Zor-El, although she goes by the alias Linda Lane on Earth. And Kara was born on Krypton, specifically in Argo City. Now, Krypton was attacked by Brainiac, and Argo City was shrunk down and put into a bottle and became the bottle city of Kandor. There's been like a million bottle cities of Kandor. I even have a bottle city of Kandor. There's been thousands of them, but Argo City is now the official bottle city of Kandor. But before all that happened, Supergirl was put in a rocket and shot into space, much like her cousin, Kal-El. Clark Kent, Superman. Duh. However, unlike Superman, Supergirl's rocket got lodged into a giant kryptonite asteroid. And because of this, she was stuck in stasis for 30-somewhat years. She never aged, she never woke up. The only thing that happened to her is she got infected by kryptonite poisoning because there was so much kryptonite around her and the ship only protected her for so long. Now, eventually, Superman and Batman destroyed the asteroid and her ship was dislodged and fell into the ocean. Batman later found her and brought her back to the Batcave where her and Superman met for the first time in a long time. She then went through a lot of shit with the Amazons and Wonder Woman, with Darkseid, at Apocalypse, and all this other stuff. But eventually, when it all was said and done, she took on the mantle of Supergirl. Because Kara Zor-El, well, technically in the DC whole entire universe is a Supergirl, and the modern continuity is not the first one. So, she dons the persona of Supergirl. However, because of the kryptonite poisoning, she has amnesia, and what she remembers is all joggled up and screwed up. For example, one of her memories of her father was that he sent her to Earth to kill her cousin. Another memory was she was sent to Earth with crystal-like powers to destroy Phantom Zone demons. And all this junk. We find out that the crystals that come out of her is actually part of the kryptonite poisoning, and that none of these are actually her true backstory. Eventually, she's cured of this kryptonite poisoning when the Bottle City Kandor becomes New Krypton. I'll get to that in a second. While she's going loopy, she goes into this teenage rebellious stage, and basically she leaves Clark and does her own thing. She joins the Outsiders, joins the Teen Titans, becomes friends with Power Girl and Captain Boomerang, and she basically goes finds herself. She eventually returns to Clark and apologizes for her absence, and New Krypton happens. Her family is brought back, her father is killed, her mother and her go at odds, and she's cured of the kryptonite poisoning, and she remembers exactly what her backstory is. And now she's a member of the Justice League of America. So that's basically what you need to know about Supergirl. Powers and abilities. Supergirl has all the same powers and abilities of any Kryptonian, like Superman. Super speed, super strength, invulnerability, flight, heat vision, super breath, all that junk, and many more. Weaknesses. She is weak to kryptonite in all forms and shapes. She's also vulnerable to magic. Now, I'm not saying she's weak to magic because she's just susceptible to it like anyone else. But those are the things that can hurt her, and excessive damage too, but that's very rare. So that's Supergirl. Put her down, and we'll get into the figure in a moment. Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor basically, and everyone knows Lex Luthor, but Lex Luthor is the business tycoon in Metropolis. He inherited LexCorp from his father, Lionel Luthor, after his passing. Lex Luthor became basically Metropolis. He owned it, basically. He made it into what it was. And he was at top of the world until Superman came. And just being challenged by the fact that there's this super being that basically has all these powers. Lex went crazy and he tries to take Superman down on several occasions. He goes so far to become the president just to screw with Superman. He wants to be the most popular kid on the playground, and with Superman there, it's kind of hard to do that. Lex Luthor eventually goes crazy because he injects himself with kryptonite steroids, and he is no longer president and becomes an outlaw. He clears his name eventually, but then again gets arrested for what happens during 52. Lex Luthor then becomes a renegade scientist, mad scientist, kind of, that he was back in the day, back during the Silver Age. And right now, he's kind of just doing his own thing. He did participate in the whole Brainiac and New Krypton stuff under General Lane, but right now, he's kind of just doing his own thing. Lex Luthor, interestingly to know, is that he wore a kryptonite ring for quite a long time, which eventually gave him cancer, and he had to decapitate his hand, and he faked his own death and transferred his brain over into a clone body so that he could have a fresh new start. Powers and abilities. Lex Luthor has had various powers throughout the years, but normally he doesn't. He's a normal human being. However, he has a genius-level intellect, quite possibly the smartest man on Earth. And he's actually an okay hand-to-hand combatant. He's been said to have kind of a sloppy style, but he can hold his own in a fight. Other than Lex Luthor's genius, his biggest asset is his utilities, his technology that he makes, his weapons, and specifically his power suit, which is usually can go toe-to-toe with Superman himself. So, his weaknesses. Lex Luthor's only weakness is his ego. Lex Luthor just lets his ego get in the way and everything. He may be the most intelligent person there, but he's not really the wisest person, because he does let his ego get in the way of him. So that's Lex Luthor. Let's get into the figures themselves. Well, seeing I have Lexi Boy out here, let's talk about Lex. Lex and Supergirl are both just former DC superhero figures that are repackaged for the DC Universe Classic line. Both figures are actually kind of rare, although I've seen Lex Luthor in my comic store a few times. Supergirl is also a rare figure too. So they kind of repackage it and make it a little bit easier for everyone to get their hands on. As you can see here, this is Lex Luthor in his battle suit, and the battle suit itself is kind of play off both the modern battle suit and the Silver Age battle suit, because his battle suit has changed from time to time. But it is kind of a mixture of both of them. Now this is pretty much exactly like the figure was in the DC superhero line, with the exception of in the DC superhero line he had a gun. Now interestingly enough, the gun that he used in the DC superhero line is the same gun that's used for Brainiac in his DC Universe Classic 2-pack. So if you have that Brainiac and you have that gun and you want to give it to Lex, go right ahead. Now, despite the fact he doesn't have his gun, does not mean he does not come with any accessories. Lex Luthor comes with a wide variety of kryptonite rocks. Of course, the classic green kryptonite. He comes with red kryptonite, gold kryptonite, and blue kryptonite. And kryptonite has had various different functions throughout the years. Right now, I believe green kryptonite weakens people, red kryptonite mutates them, gold kryptonite makes them lose their powers for, 15 seconds, and blue, I forget, I think blue makes them hallucinate and makes them go crazy. I could be wrong on blue, because blue's used the least out of all of them. Originally, red kryptonite stole people's powers, but they changed that around. Kryptonite always changing in power, in abilities. The only kryptonite that stays standard is the green that just weakens Superman. But articulation-wise, his arms can go up, they can go out, spin at the bicep, spin at the forearm, and bend at the elbow. Waist can turn side to side, head can turn all the way around, although it can be quite a pain and a bitch because of the power suit. But then again, why would you want to turn his head all the way around? Actually, my head right now just got stuck while turning it. So, let's see if I can there we go. So the head can turn all the way around, but this part right here makes it hard. Legs can go up, they can go out slightly, but they're dampened by his skirt, or his tunic part of the actual power suit. Bends at the knees, and his feet can do some ridiculous articulation in that. He can also spin at the quadriceps too. So he has a good standard articulation for DC Universe Classic figure. If you want to, you can just take a kryptonite chunk, let's take the blue kryptonite, and you can stick that bad boy right in Lex Luthor's hand. There you go. So on a whole, good figure. I'll give you my final analysis on him in a moment. Let's jump into Supergirl. Now, Supergirl is the figure that I wanted to get from this pack specifically. Not saying I don't like the Lex Luthor figure, but one, the Supergirl figure is much harder to find. Two, Kara Zor-El, Supergirl, is one of my all-time favorite superheroes. She's just such an appealing character, and I don't have a DC Universe Classic figure of hers, so I wanted one bad. Now, as you can see here, Kara Zor-El is in her modern continuity Supergirl costume. Long sleeve shirt that's cut off at the belly button with mini skirt, red boots, and red cape. There's only two minor differences in this to what her comic costume actually is. One is the belt here is supposed to be a belt buckle. She doesn't have that. And two, the cape is actually supposed to be longer with a gold trim on it, or a yellow gold trim on it. The reasons why this is not the case for this figure is because it's most likely because this is a recoloring and a slight remolding of the other DC superhero, Supergirl Linda Davis. I mean, the cape, the body is pretty much the same. And I've seen that Supergirl figure around quite a bit, so they really just kind of changed it up a little to make it look like Kara Zor-El. That's what Mattel kind of does. They kind of just do reusing of parts, but they do it in such a clever way that you really don't notice it that well. But yeah, Supergirl, articulation-wise, her head can do the whole exorcist movement, her arms can go up and around, all the standard articulation for a female in the upper body. The waist can spin around. It can't move up and down like so, because some of the females can do that, she can't. Legs can go up slightly, could go up more, but the skirt dampers it, bends at the knees, and the ankles can move. The leg up at the top can spin, but it looks like it's fragile. I look like a perv looking at her skirt, but it looks like it's fragile, so you want to be careful with that. And yeah, so that is Supergirl. So final analysis on these figures. We'll do Supergirl right here. I'm very happy with Supergirl. I think it's the better of the two figures, but that's probably because I'm a big Supergirl fan. I like the face a lot, although the eyebrows are really high up. But I really like what they did with the hair. It doesn't dampen the cape. It gives it kind of a flowing motion, which is very nice. It is similar to that of the DC Direct Batman Superman Supergirl, which is another Supergirl figure I like. I really like how they tried to make the costume accurate to the comic. Granted, the cape and the belt are not there. I mean, God, am I going to complain about everything? It's small, minor details. She looks good. She has good articulation, despite the fact of her skirt. And I'm happy I got her because I really want a Supergirl figure for my collection. She goes well in scale with the other DC Universe and DC superhero figures like Superman, all the different Supermans, and Power Girl. So she's a nice addition to the collection. What I particularly like about her is her S-shield here. It's not just a paint app, it's actually kind of molded in there, which is nice. So Supergirl, good figure. Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is the figure that I wasn't really caring too much about, but I actually really dig the power suit Lex Luthor. I think I actually almost like him more than the other Lex Luthor I got from the Gotham City 5-pack. This Lex Luthor does have more of a traditional power suit than his more modern one, and he doesn't come with his gun, but he comes with all this kryptonite, and the kryptonite actually is kind of cool, and he looks badass. The only problem I have with this figure is he's actually short in comparison to some other figures. And not like he's smaller, but if you put this up to the other Lex Luthor from the Gotham City 5-pack, they're about the same height. You think if you're in this big, massive Optimus Prime-like power suit, you'd be a little bit taller, but you're not. That's a small little gripe, but besides that, I actually really dig the figure. The detail's nice on it, and the power suit looks badass. So let's just take one more look at these guys. Whether or not you should get them. I would highly recommend this for a few reasons. One is they're old figures that are hard to find, so if you really wanted to get these figures beforehand, then here's your chance to get them. Two is that there's only been one Supergirl figure other than Linda Davis, but I'm talking about just Kara, there's only really been one, so here's your chance to get her for a good price. Three is that there's only two Lex Luthor figures, and if you don't feel like paying the $50 for the Lex Luthor from the Gotham City 5-pack, then here's your chance for getting Lex Luthor for a bit cheaper. And it feels a little bit more in place because you get him with a Superman character rather than one Superman character and a bunch of Batman characters. The Supergirl figure, just absolutely beautiful. One of my favorite female figures from the line. Lex Luthor is a great figure. I definitely recommend him too. I recommend this 2-pack. It's one of the better 2-packs I got. Granted, they're both repackagings. They're good repackaging. So with that said, I'm going to end this review here. DC Universe Classic 2-pack Supergirl and Lex Luthor, get it. They're really good. So with that said, this is Andrew saying peace out for now.